That-
Is there anyone's coffee cup? Okay.
us, right?
Better than doing the early one tomorrow morning.
Why can't we just get someone like Manny just to do all that?
I don't know, you take forever to call the scene.
I sent maybe 5 pictures of mine.
I mean, the one vision yesterday was 23 seconds, today was about 27, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I got 5 yesterday and 40 today, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm shooting at low shutter speed, it's too much on the hard to read things, it's front road stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It is what it is. I mean,
it is what it is, yeah.
shoot pictures and the system.
We got 6,400.
Oh, right. 3,200 at like.
60. Might be a little fuzzy.
Yeah, that's why I put it on high, so it's one of them.
One of them's gonna be.
One of them will be focused. Yeah. That has been a huge issue. With high, I don't do that. Other than the thought.
Oh, you just stopped talking.
Well, part of this issue it has lockers.
Yeah.
And this morning was library. I thought she was going to say something, but she looked at Jim's whole those two. The other one's like, it seemed like
Yeah, might be crazy.
yeah.
Like that.
I mean, the last one I had was things.
Crazy. 3.
Hopefully Cassie will be not tired of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, ready for his nap.
Because it's not like tomorrow.
Switch.
More at least.
Are we still going to keep the same before for the earnings?
I'm not discussing. I imagine they're probably at least like 4 in a row, one on each side. Well, actually, two.
You think we're gonna do that?
I mean,
Like 6?
and then 2 maybe 2 in the back. Show the notes. Like trees, that's going. We'll see.
I doubt it.
I would not be surprised if you're like 1 o'clock. I'm sure they want that. That's right. I'll get that. It's fine.
I agree on that. Maybe they'll have like 4.
Yeah, I think we'll probably want an official. Probably have the camera on the tree. And then maybe on the side too. So that takes 2 positions. The good thing with those remotes.
Yeah, but we have a protest outside.
Yeah, right. The good thing with those remotes, you can sort of stand out in the alcove and go look.
Yeah.
As long as the TV is picked up first.
Yeah.
I guess, how the hell is this card?
We're gonna have to have like a good last time. We're gonna have to go somewhere.
I mean-
Anything in 2021.
This is the touching, like, the grab the card, and like, you know, the whole collecting is.
Maybe we'll have to send it, maybe we put Wi-Fi in the room.
Yeah.
Send it directly.
I see Matt and Tricia. I'm not sure about who. I think they're doing debates, so they're all,
Probably 1.
at least 2.
What is that?
But, yeah.
At least we can. How many? That's enough?
They were all probably doing ACP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 months, figure the shit out.
So, but, yeah, I mean.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Don't worry. We know who we work for. So. I'll play the game in the middle, like, you want to come up, it's like. He's working for, an agency. No. Right. Yeah. So they can do it. They should think it all over. And they're like, I work for them. Yeah. And so that was part of.
Yeah, probably the first was like, we'll do the list, and then eventually it was like, first come, first served. So, like, whoever's in charge.
That's like, I don't have, yeah. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So this, no one can have the other. I did. And I'm just saying, but it's just like they cut off. I'm just like,
Yeah, it's
tell them. Tell them you have to do it because no one can do the other day. That's exactly what it's called.
It's not our job. It's
I'll
their
try it.
job.
I'll find some. Well, it's not like when good stuff happens at the house. Given that they get, you know, shit out. Yeah, you know, that's the thing. Yeah. What do you do? Don't worry.
Yeah.
Working on it. He's looking for an agency. That's shouldn't.
Yeah, it's essentially,
Which is basically.
so I can't do it.
So, don't be worried, it's
Yeah.
unfortunate,
Yeah, don't worry.
because it's not important. There's a show on the front door Well, it's like, well, it is what it is, I don't think personally. Like, if we get along, we come out either, why is he okay, should not, and then put it out, RT, what do you put it out?
Oh, yeah, third person.
Some of these other, because I think it has to do with.
Hey, Gigi.
What's going
The
on?
only good thing about this crappy rotation is that I get to see you more often.
You really had been forever.
I know. We've been way too long. Stuff. I feel like we got what else?
We never had them, actually. Yeah, we had them. Oh, really? Yeah, we should. Well, they're huge with it. My understanding.
So, but you keep going back to like New Jersey all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not here, or
Yeah.
kind of my studio apartment, right?
I mean, yeah. How's Union Pub? Is it like surviving?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they got the giant patios, mezzanines.
All right.
Yeah.
So, we live to see another day.
Hi, Ryan.
So,
Don't worry. But,
I'll be right in here.
Sure.
Oh, I obviously, I thought the language taught you updated too, but I just like,
So we just change it to required.
no, she called us. We could call
Yeah.
Also, I told her, all you do is say staff and.
Still running.
Oh, yeah. But I think just literally instead of recommended.
Yeah.
All my rounds. Don't even change the name.
I thought-
I don't drive that thing until it drives into the ground. People, I feel like street parking, people bump into it all the time.
But it doesn't matter.
I get
in a
careless,
sense,
so like if that
everybody's
throws a
doing
shoes,
it
it costs more than my
anyway,
car.
but yeah, yeah.
Well,
So I don't, I
yeah,
don't-
well,
I mean, I'm surprised it took them that
bump
long.
into a Volvo, you're gonna come off.
I'm surprised it took them that long, though, but yeah.
Fact.
Those guys.
Plus, it's such a dude magnet, you know, my Volvo station.
Fucking people.
Oh, yeah, because people love whips on it.
I know.
What's wrong with
A lot.
I know.
No.
One of my friends moved
This
to
is very
Sweden.
cute. Oh, thank you. Can I have the one?
No, in England with my sister's obsessed with, and she bought it for me for my birthday in March, but I haven't had to wear it anywhere.
Because I looked at it and I was like, she tried to give you the feedback. You didn't take it.
Oh, that pot.
I guess she said, because normally, oh, that's probably.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
Nobody's gonna sit on that.
I know.
But yeah.
Okay.
So you was like, well.
Keenan, you need an audio check or anything?
I'll take one to be safe, but I think I'm gonna rotate it tomorrow.
And they got it.
And when you have it, they do it.
There's a microphone test in Studio A on October 1st, 2020. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. We're running behind, guys.
Wow, what a surprise.
Hey.
I think it's like 3 weeks in a row.
Am I interrupting anything going on
Hey.
with your day?
Man. Oh. I think they-
Something coming. I'm gonna text you something. JG.
I mean, I have nothing to lose. Like, I'm just-
Yeah, exactly.
But still, it's just like.
No wonder
It
she's.
doesn't need, yeah. You have to press it down. I'm not.
Oh, so, yeah,
I'll do it on.
for-
And I. Yes,
You see the officials were actually?
I'm not.
Yeah, yes. The guy who got CPAC.
Yeah.
That was him.
Don't mention my name.
Next year, they're gonna.
I could gave us
No, because remember,
No.
I mean, they have,
It's just like,
how much better
and,
play?
and to be honest, I mean.
Who was it?
So this was this year. I wasn't there this year. I was in South Carolina.
Right. I wasn't there this year.
So,
I was something.
Yeah, you got
something. I wasn't there.
yeah, because the one that happened maybe the 2019 or 22 was like that serial guy. Like, but he was the Russian flag guy over like the
Yeah,
2017. Yeah.
but the Saturday and Cohen was the guy dressed as Trump
Yeah.
with the girl at the show. That was him. Yeah.
No one knew.
Yeah, no one knew. Yeah.
Watch what I texted you.
Come on. Oh, yeah.
That's so funny.
Remember how you like this like unique.
Just, you have to watch it.
You know what I did see this earlier?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like the.
And then John Decker.
Right.
asked
Like,
me,
And I'm sure like they give
like, with the ballot in Pennsylvania.
ID, they probably be like, no.
And decorative, I cover the news, and I like to report accurately on the news. And when the president says they've gotten a lot of ballots in the river, or something wants to know where the river is.
I'm off to use with him, but Trump can't pay the shout to. That's funny.
And true.
You know, I
Where's the
never-
river?
Let me know what you
It's,
need.
it's down.
Like right here.
down
No,
the
I
street.
really can't right now. We're just being real careful.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
No, for us,
But
but
yeah.
that's what it's about. But otherwise, my plan was to be gone at any Yeah, I mean, but it was sort of, yeah, this operation.
That's
was
not-
more
No,
integrated
don't do that. Do the threat.
than previous operations. And part of that, it's possible that our business is I think it's mostly the opposite. But yes, no, he was really supposed to do that. So you couldn't, you could be paid for 2 different times. I don't know really how you use that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good block.
I like how they just.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not talking about just one person.
Make sure.
Just to make sure that.
I get it. I've seen it all.
I mean, I think whenever they're testing, they use something like this, but they cover up.
Sure. So you need something today or what?
That's dumb.
We talk about China stuff. Like, if there's any chance when she was
The minority rule.
oh, let them trip on herself. He had a phone call. But no, they didn't take them.
Jason, is that live? Jason, is that live?
No, someone clipped it.
The river?
Yeah.
You're gonna shoot stuff.
Well, it's like,
What kind of people and we only work together for a short. Maybe or we're very friendly.
Same thing, right?
They're slightly different.
You have to pay attention to which play you put it in.
Yeah, I have lots.
Oh, she's a fun.
Yeah.
I think Tony was.
But you know, not.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably not.
Power bank. It's like dealt with a lot of. Yeah, they have even that.
I don't have one.
We weren't trying to confuse you. Something going on.
Yes. Acid will hard to decide on the side.
I'm gonna call it.
Yeah, but I wasn't planning for it. My point.
There's a rule where you can't.
John?
Yeah.
Tell him,
Should be the majority.
now and then.
I know that.
And they sold it.
Oh, no. That's not. Kevin's coming from.
I think it's more like hard to decide.
To be honest with you, there's very little.
It's
I mean,
once
we
it's
get
the.
I don't mean just
What is the one that's called?
sometimes you have to look at information.
Joel?
Yeah, I guess it's like the board.
Because she refuses to call, she will not. She owns it. She thinks it's pretty.
That's right.
Not just.
Yeah.
She doesn't see the details.
Really?
Oh, yes. Oh, it's.
Yeah.
Because the other one, were never that way.
Well, she didn't.
She didn't.
He's full.
No.
He's got,
You know, he didn't understand it, right?
No.
So,
he's got, the latest, yeah, Chevy John Taylor's. He's got a,
he didn't care about
he's
it.
got two of them. So,
And he did, like, every freaking day.
But it was like, that's not.
he's got a master guy.
Yes.
You know, this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
And then you have to, you know, she was the handle, decided that's it,
Mhm.
you know.
No, you're on there. But he, so I think it was really.
wonder, I'm curious to know who behind that.
For whatever policy purposes, it was your fault.
Exactly.
They grew up together, they're old school, they got along, they could talk to each other, they could work it out. They just cut through, you know, like, if you start dating somebody, you gotta go through that rigmarole. They just skipped all day. They didn't have to do that, right?
Yeah. You know,
So she just bypasses them all. She
Barrack
held
Helton
them to Democrats.
Exactly.
still holds the fastest that in rates, not
Having a Mnuchin comes to us,
Race.
with that number, and we'll figure out what,
around,
how much.
multiple.
Well, the total, we give them that, and then he goes back.
And then,
Yeah.
But it's,
I looked it up on
the problem with Mnuchin, he just won't take. And he's like, oh,
The devil's in the other.
yeah, compromise to him is, we'll just give you half of whatever you want. And that's
Yeah.
not,
yeah, Hamilton did right.
like, he doesn't understand the ideological.
But no one still
Republicans will have one given
race
for topic. Yeah.
It's Barrack
Because that was probably like, that was the day.
And the
So it's probably like,
Flat out.
All the time. Yeah, all he kept about infusion and cash in the economy.
probably like,
You know, they really made it up at the time, well, on the straight.
You know, he's not
Yeah, I'll let-
ideological.
I would imagine like they already left, so you, yeah, it just.
I was so wrong last time, I can't, yeah,
But,
I don't know,
I mean, it's pretty crazy. That
I hope so. I really do. And I
Yeah,
I did
Mason
it.
also, Mason has, this one's six.
He hasn't ever done
Yeah.
that. He hates
Yeah,
Trump.
it's well,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's,
No, have you looked at his Twitter account last week? Nasty.
Okay.
but you know, because it was,
You know, he's just really, yeah,
so it was all.
I say nasty, I mean, he's like normal, but.
Yeah.
You know, he's very public about it, but he's not. I've never heard him say a word.
Interesting, I didn't know.
No, he's just like, the problem, he said he's like, the problem with the debate is the moderator for questions in the format. is
But
the
I think
answer.
that is.
You know, and he never fails to not be right.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, he does, he's not angling for anything now, he's just,
Yeah.
I don't like his either.
So they got the. We're
We're part of the line, sorry.
That's when that was good.
What'd you ever figure out your audio issue?
Yes, he fixed it in the last 10 minutes of the process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't, it just,
But that was the issue, it wasn't like, you found us out there.
no, he fixed the issue, it was, you know, as you know, we've got several devices, and so sort of there's a lot of failure points. The issue was what we thought for the longest time was with our streaming software, and actually wasn't, it was with, setting Zoom on where to bring the audio in from. It was a really simple change, but it was sort of counterintuitive. But, yeah, he got it.
Race class.
And we now have it documented on, so we'll repeat it next time. It's part of that.
Yeah, because you, it's,
Yeah, because, even after, officers after, right, they're.
get rid of it.
Yeah.
You thought you always got a pretty
Oh, I'm.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's why they're doing that, right? Yeah, yeah. Because they had people type or
I know,
whatever.
I figured it, so,
Yeah.
my point is, we
It's like,
moved
all
this.
like,
Oh,
You,
nah,
did you have feeling it was gonna go on?
Nah.
Did your wife?
nah.
And she didn't, yeah,
She probably did.
she really wanted to get.
No,
Oh,
no. Truthfully, no.
Yeah.
Because I come from Linda. My niece is the first girl.
Yeah, the number of.
Wow, that's wild.
So,
Yeah, then we did that.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I mean, it was like,
Mhm.
I'm glad I had one.
Yeah.
Regardless of how the order came, because I definitely wanted to do things a little different than my house and dad.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. That's like
But it's like
and
polar
use it
opposites.
as fuel.
But you guys, you in the ring again or what?
One day.
Thinking about. See, I was doing one part. We waited.
Commission or something.
So,
Yeah, you could hear.
and but did I think 19 months? No. But I'm thankful for it. Based on your birthdays, no one one created. We're gonna hold him until he's almost 6.
Okay.
What
month are we on?
October.
Okay. That's not big.
October 23rd.
Cool.
I mean, they just got the contract for,
She, what is November?
No, she's April. So she's 2.5.
Oh, April.
2.5 this month.
so.
2.5. 2 days. She actually had big deal. You'll appreciate this because we talked a little bit about this. This was our first entire day of dry dock.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know what we did? Once that progress started, we shut that down.
We did is
And you just did that way?
Nope, never did. But I think that, and I think we'll do it with her. I think that he understood the sensation was different.
Oh, okay.
And so it made there was a cognitive thing there
Wild.
versus just sort of, and again, that might be overstating, but literally because,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Maybe they'll.
he had
Well,
and yeah, he's like, oh, it's already there. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm already awake.
I've heard it was harder to try.
I don't know, man. He's been very easy.
That's all.
Because he still thinks he can't get up.
Yeah.
We put him in a big bowl.
Yeah. That's
It's,
clutch.
yeah, so. Yeah, so we don't have, he thinks that like, I can't get up until I smoke.
Uh-huh.
Like, so we're
That's
still
awesome.
kind of there, so it's like.
Ride that train.
Yeah, so. He trains that you get up to the bathroom or not run around in the middle of the
Be able
night.
to, yeah. And get your coffee going in the morning.
Exactly.
Buy yourself 20 minutes.
Yeah. What's most important? But it's but yeah, moving girls is totally different.
Really?
Yeah. But she's attuned to he's not, and what he is, she's not. So she's probably more attuned to him than he is to her.
Sure. That's probably typical for a second one.
I mean, she loves, she plays with cars, everything he wants, she wants.
Yeah.
yeah, they were good with that.
But she's a fighter, like, she'll push him back. Yeah, it's like, okay, this is good.
You know, the other things you like.
You'll get to a point where like, okay.
This one?
They're on their way.
2 minutes.
2005 was
Oh, Brian texted me the other day on Thursday and Friday, and I thought about you. Because
I thought, did I tell you I'm talking about the house historian about it?
No.
Yeah, I'm not giving it up. It's a load.
What, have you come to any terms yet? Or?
I think he didn't understand my question, to be honest with you. So I gotta go back to him. I'm glad you said that. Well, yeah, but he and I go way back.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. Sorry for keeping you waiting a little longer. Hope you're all well. Yesterday, we received welcome news that there was an arrest made in the shooting earlier this month of the two LA County sheriffs. It was so disgusting, just a targeted attack. I know that sheriffs have a long road to recovery ahead of them, but I hope this brings a sense of peace to them and to their families. Our police officers take on immense risk every single day, and they should know that the majority of the country is praying for them and for their safety. Today marks the 71st anniversary of the People's Republic of China. Over the decades, we have seen a communist regime who have been ruthless in their attempt to seize power. Today's Chinese Communist Party is no closer to allowing their citizens to have freedom than they were 31 years ago in Tiananmen Square. We have seen them break international agreements, carry out human rights abuses, and violate the sovereignty of neighboring nations. Previous administrations have implemented a strategy of accommodation. Let's just look at what has happened. Former President Obama in 2011, let me quote him. I absolutely believe that China's peaceful rise is good for the world and it's good for America. Vice President Joe Biden, just a few years ago in 2015, stated, we want to see China rise. Has Joe Biden, who is the Democratic Party, changed his view? Well, just last year, as he was running for president, Joe Biden said, China is not competition for us. It's an interesting quote that he would make. Perhaps Democrats are comfortable with bending to a knee for China, but Republicans will not gamble with our economy or our national security. That is why House Republicans stood up a China task force back in May. The China task force was actually supposed to be bipartisan. I went to Speaker Pelosi more than a year ago. Talked to the Democratic leadership for more than 8 months. Finally got them to agree. We even had to negotiate on the numbers, same number of Republicans as Democrats. Because this transcends party. The challenge of what China gives not only to the world, but to America. Pre-COVID. And we got to the date where we were going to announce it in a joint press conference. Even the Washington Post reporter had already written up a story. Only for the Democrats to back away. Over the past few months, the members of the task force worked to draft a comprehensive blueprint to counter China's threat, and yesterday they delivered. They continue to follow through on our commitment to America we laid out earlier this month to rebuild the greatest economy we have ever seen, and to end our dependency on China and implement pro-growth policies. Much like Democrats have neglected to protect America from geopolitical threats, they are also neglecting their livelihoods at home. For the past several months, there has been one common denominator stopping us from getting another COVID relief bill. It's the Speaker of the House. But let's listen to what she has done. We know from past behavior, every time the four leaders got together to do a COVID relief bill, we came to an agreement after Speaker Pelosi had delayed it, sometimes a week at a time. When the much needed money for small businesses for their employees to stay open or to keep paying them, it was so popular that we're going to run out of money that the Speaker was warned about it weeks in advance. She proudly stood at late night television in front of her refrigerator, eating ice cream, almost laughing at the American public by saying she said no. She told us she would keep us in, not let us leave in August because she has the power to do that, the only one. But she let us all go. Instead of utilizing that pressure to make people come to a common agreement. But she did call us back. I was kind of excited when I heard she was going to. But was it for COVID relief? Was it to deal with those who are unemployed or the small businesses who were going to shut their doors and lay more people off? Or maybe it was for the schools that needed the resources to open back up. No, it was purely political once again. It was about a post office that already had money. A post office that we know does not have the challenge with delivering the mail. It's the states that do not have the ability to handle within the election office all the mail ballots. So she said once again, she would not let us leave. I wonder if we could trust her at her word this time. It's interesting, she decided only once Republicans have put on the floor a discharge petition, which the American public, so they can understand, it's one of those archaic rules within the House. It's the only power the minority has to get a bill to the floor to go around the speakers to get 218 people to sign. You would think it'd be quite easy to get 218 members to sign a discharge petition to help small businesses. They've already voted for it once before. Why deny it to go forward? Some within her own party has criticized her. So you know what we did yesterday on a vote? We actually put it to the floor, and every single Democrat voted against it. So it seems Nancy Pelosi has as much power on her members as the Chinese Communist Party has on their whole party. When I look at what her compromise bill is all about, well, it once again mentions cannabis more than it mentions jobs, which I don't think those in COVID relief believe that's the priority they should do. Provides a massive tax break to the wealthy. And you know who would get the biggest tax break of all? Michael Bloomberg. I guess that's okay in the Democratic Party because he's supplied the most money for him. 100 million, I guess, in Florida. He talked in his own debate that he bought Congress's majority with more than $100 million. He sent him 60 million now. So I guess they feel obligated to give him the biggest tax break of almost any American. You know the one thing it does cut back on money? To make our streets safe and secure. $600 million they cut from their original bill for law enforcement. If Joe Biden is the Democratic Party and they're cutting $600 million, I guess he does support cutting the police and defunding them. Nancy Pelosi has said numerous times that she would keep us here to get it done. That was in July. She made us wait all summer, but who did she really make wait? The small businesses that have now declared bankruptcy, or those people that are employed by them that are now out of work, or those at their unemployment that do not get the extra benefit. Or what about the airlines? Could she not see past politics for once? Could she not close the refrigerator and listen to the American public? Could she not think that she's above the law, that only she can go to get her hair done while others are denied? The arrogance is appalling, and it must stop. With everything that was happening, from the presidential debate to the lack of action in the House, I'm afraid too many people missed some critical information. I want to commend Director Radcliffe on bringing transparency to the intelligence. If you read his letter, everybody in America should read this letter. Every single member in Congress should not only read this letter in the House or Senate, but we need the underlying information behind it that we've been asking for more than 4 years. That the nightmare that America was put through, if what is stated in here is correct, is unbelievable. That's why facts need to be known. It's not about politics. It's about the democracy of our nation. This is probably the biggest news that has happened. And I commend Director Radcliffe for bringing transparency out, but more importantly, I ask that the members in the House and Senate can get the underlying information behind this so we can get once and for all the truth. With that, let me open it up for questions. Yes, ma'am.
So, Secretary Mnuchin came back to Pelosi with the $1.6 trillion offer yesterday. Some of your own members, including Kevin Brady, have brought up concerns about those spending levels and some of the provisions in that. I was wondering if you share any of those concerns, and if they are able to come to a deal on something along those lines, whether you think it's something that...
It shows how far the administration Republicans are going, where Pelosi continues to put the roadblock even higher for the option of not having something. You've been here this entire year. You've watched the four leaders, when they all come together, we come to an agreement. This is the only time that the Speaker has tried to take all the power, and it's the only time nothing is getting done. Her own members of her own party are writing letters to her concerned. The only reason why she has any movement is because Republicans put up a discharge petition. It's interesting why she let us go last Friday at the last minute when the discharge petition became ripe, so you'd only have 15 minutes to sign it on Friday. It's interesting why they keep Democratic staff down by the book to sign, to look exactly who's signing and what intimidation they're making to keep Democrats holding back. Be interesting to know for the American public, why would anybody in Congress not sign? It's not asking for more money, it's allowing the money that is there for PPP to go to those employees who need it. They're hurting. But do they think winning is so important to try to hurt the economy further? Because that's the decision she's making. It's a calculated decision. It's a harmful decision. It is the wrong decision.
On that note, if a deal is reached, it's going to be at least 1.6 trillion, and your members are concerned about that price tag. Senate Republicans are concerned about going higher than 1 trillion. If a deal is reached today or potentially this week, can you guarantee that your members are going to support that?
No, you can't ever say what people on the Democrat side or Republican side until you see what's in it. Is there liability protection? Are the schools going to be protected from being sued, or the small businesses? Because the Democrats never proposed that. Is this just more money into cannabis and not to jobs? I mean, what is the priority of the underlying? There are so many problems within the Democratic bills, why it's gone nowhere, and why Pelosi continues to hold on for a false hope that nobody will support. She had 14 of her own party vote against it. I bet there'll be further now. So the real question is, what is inside the ability to do it? There is lots of money still sitting out there that's already appropriated, almost $1 trillion or more, that we can get to the American public, to the states, to the schools, to the unemployed. But it's only been held up because of Nancy Pelosi. Yes.
Before I ask my question, just to clarify, do you support the $1.6 trillion offer that Mnuchin made?
I haven't seen it all yet.
Okay.
So.
I want to ask about the debate. And specifically, would you have any advice for the president going forward in the next debate? Is there anything you think he should do differently? Do you think the attacks on Joe Biden's sons, for example, was a bridge too far? I mean, what is your advice to the president there about how he should tackle this next debate?
First, if you ask me about the debate, President Trump won the debate. Could it be more productive? Actually, my best advice is let Joe Biden talk. He is the Democratic Party. His ideas are far long gone. I think the more he talks, the more the American public would decide they don't want Joe Biden. Is there a reason why he puts a lid on almost most of his days? Is there a reason why he is hidden and not communicated? Is there a reason why he won't tell the American public who he'd point to the Supreme Court justice? Candidate Trump did that before the last election, so the public knew ahead of time.
Do you think it was a mistake not just letting Joe Biden speak more and letting the
I don't know if
public?
it's a mistake or not, but I'd let him speak all he wants. Every time Joe Biden, and maybe that's why the campaign puts a lid on it about what'd they do in the 2 weeks prior? Half of all the days would put a lid on by 10 a.m. Joe Biden usually gets in trouble not by somebody asking a question, but just by he's talking. So the more he talks, I think the stronger President Trump's campaign is. Then just run on the facts. Run on the record. Joe Biden has a long record, 47 years inside the Senate. Put that in perspective. When Joe Biden went to the Senate, there were people in the Senate who were born in the 1800s. Think of all the things Joe Biden won't tell you. Why won't he? Why won't he name one law enforcement officer who would endorse him? Why wouldn't he tell the American public more about his son when he was vice president? Why did you bring your son on a government airplane to China? Why did your son do business with China? What were you warned by those in the administration about what your son was doing? Now, with new information coming forward, that a person very close to Putin, a wife, provided more than $3.5 million to your son, instead of just saying no, wouldn't you want the information? Wouldn't you want to come forward? Doesn't the public have a right to know? But more importantly, what are your policies? Because you say one thing during the primary, now you're saying something different. I've never seen anybody flip-flop more. I watched him look a woman in the eye, said, read my lips to the point of what he would say, that he was going to end fossil fuel. Then he wants to try to say he's for fracking after he said he was opposed to it. He says he's for a Green New Deal, but when it's a debate, no, it's not a Green New Deal. But it still does the same effect to the economy of harming it. He says he's going to raise taxes on the very first day. He also said some very damaging things as well. He also said he thinks poor people are just as smart as white people. Or white kids, I think, to be exact. That's offensive. He also stood as vice president, went to a former KKK's funeral, speaking very highly of him, along with Speaker Pelosi. So yes, I would let Joe Biden talk more. And if I was President Trump, just say what you have done. The strongest economy in the history of the nation. You compare it directly across from the failures of the Joe Biden-Obama administration. You reformed the VA, where hundreds of thousands were harmed and died because of lack of ability even to get an appointment. You rebuilt the military. There is record after record which President Trump has to run on, and I think it's his strongest ability to win a re-election. Yes.
What are the chances you think the House of Representatives could decide an election? Speaker Pelosi put out a note saying that it was important for her to win state races because right now Republicans control more chambers of Congress in these states or chambers in the states and stuff. So do you think that it could get to the House of Representatives to decide? And should there be an added emphasis on winning these state houses and state elections?
I'm not quite sure why you want to win the state houses. Maybe I don't understand it correctly. It's one per state.
One vote per state.
It's the members of Congress who vote, does it not?
She was explaining earlier this morning that it could go at one point to where each state gets one vote. So California, 53,
So,
get
but
one.
that's not a state house. A state house legislative body
Is in Sacramento. The 53 members who represent California is a federal office in Congress. So I understand she's talking about a state house, but that's a whole different subject. The way the rules read from the Constitution, it comes to the House only if it's a tie, which is really hard to do, but maybe it's possible. It's probably more possible back in 1980 because there was a third party candidate. I don't see a third party candidate, so I was voting for one or the other. So probably pretty difficult to get a tie. But if it comes to the House, each state gets one vote. So the makeup, so you have some states that only have one representative, Alaska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana. And then if you look at the number of parties, by the number of states, Republicans have more states than Democrats, even though we're in the minority. But it takes 26 ever to get the nominee to become president, and the Senate picks the vice president. There's also a factor in there, if it can't get to that point, the speaker could become president, but they'd have to resign that position as well. And I know she has such hatred for this president that she tries to find every avenue, but I'm not quite sure she understands the ramification of how it works. But I think it's not very likely that it does come to the House.
Can I go back to the letter that you had mentioned from Director Ratcliffe, the timing right before the first debate? The Senate Republican-led Intelligence Committee dismissed that early on. They didn't dismiss it. The reporting from sources on the committee said that it was.
They didn't have this information. What I would like you to go to any member, the Intel Committee,
The House and the Senate. I happen to be a member of Gang of Eight. I never do any of this. This is why this is so important. Don't bring into timing. If you want to bring into timing, read in this letter when this stuff was transpiring. Let's look here. July 26, 2016. September 2016. Very interesting things being said here on that timing. People have been requesting this information and underlying information for the last 4 years because they've been investigating this. The real question would lie is, who's been holding this information up from the members of Congress and the Senate? Why did we put the American public through so much? Why is it just now we're getting this information? Ratcliffe should be commended for bringing out transparency. That's exactly what he said he would do in the job, and that's what he's doing. The question for anybody in the Senate or the House should be, I want to see the underlying info. And why were we denied that info all this time? I asked Devin Nunes, who was the chair of the Intel. Had he seen this information? Just go ask him. Yeah, it's his birthday today too, so we should wish him happy birthday if we talk to him.
What do you think on a scale of 1 to 10, the chances are of a bipartisan deal coming together on coronavirus aid at this point? What's your
Is
sense?
Nancy Pelosi still involved?
She is still
I'd give
involved.
you a low number. If you put the 4 leaders in the room, or if you put a few other people from the Democratic Party, we'd get one today.
What about Meadows? Do you think he increases those chances?
I think Meadows could get it. Meadows was a part of the other ones as well.
He was?
There's one
Which ones?
common denominator that has failed every time and has had it delayed. Yeah, when we did one of the bills, he was already chief. He helped in it. Speaker Pelosi, you've been here, you've reported it. Do you remember that Sunday that we all came back, the 4 leaders?
Mhm.
Do you remember what Schumer said just the day before? Like the deal was done? And we sat in the room and Nancy blew it up for a week, really not changing the deal, but giving more money for the arts. Then you remembered after we got the PPP, her stopping more money for it. It wasn't asking for any new legislation, was just put more money in because it's so successful. Saved more than 50 million jobs. The question has to go to the speaker now. Are you doing this for political reasons? Do you want America to hurt so bad to try to get some advantage in an election?
Or do you think that they're holding out for a potential President Biden? Do you think that's the strategy for
What
them?
benefit would that be? What benefit? How many more people would be unemployed? The president from the very beginning has been supportive of getting an agreement. It's only been one person holding it up. So it's easy to realize everything about her is politics. She ought to maybe not get her hair done all by herself, but listen to the people who've been unemployed. Listen to the people who own that shop who've been closed for so long, who need the PPP. Listen to the people who need the unemployment. And if she wants to put a red line, then go ask Steny Hoyer why he said that's not a red line. The Republicans are actually right about that all states are not equal. So any point that she makes is really just a political point to stop something, instead of finding a reason to put people before politics. That's all we're asking. So
not
if
a
Speaker
helpful deal.
Pelosi is not involved, we'd get it done. Her own people know that as well. You all have a nice weekend.
Thanks. Have a good one.